This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
A vast universe exists within and beyond our reality. What we realize with our five senses is but a tiny fraction of all that is real. Welcome to the World Beyond Radio Show. I'm your host, Joe Weigant, and I'll be your guide and advocate as we remove the blinders of our everyday lives and experience together all that exists out there in the world beyond our world. Thank you for tuning in today, folks. We have a special pair of guests today. We have Naya Swami's Jyotish and Devi, and they are dynamic emissaries of Paramahansa Yogananda, who was a spiritual leader whose best-selling book, The Autobiography of a Yogi, sparked a revolution of yoga and meditation in the West. Living examples of spiritual values in action, Jyotish and Devi travel the world, sharing Yogananda's teaching and blessing people with the practice and heart-opening path of Kriya Yoga. Naya Swami's Jyotish and Devi are spiritual directors of Ananda, a global movement of spiritual communities, centers, and meditation groups, people living the change they want to see in the world. Guided by the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda, Ananda will celebrate its 50th anniversary in 2019. Touching each person with friendship, Jyotish and Devi's clear, centered energy delivers spiritual insight with a delightful joy in people's individual paths. They offer a rare example of successful spiritual partnership, living yogic values through their marriage, parenting, and organizational leadership. Each year, Naya Swami's Jyotish and Devi spend 4 months teaching in Europe and throughout India, touching thousands of people. With his best-selling book, How to Meditate, a step-by-step guide to the art and science of meditation, Jyotish Novak has touched over 250,000 people with meditation. With her book, Faith is My Armor, The Life of Swami Kriyananda, Devi Novak illuminated the life of one of Yogananda's most prolific disciples. Together, Naya Swami's Jyotish and Devi wrote Touch of Light after their popular blog illuminating Yogananda's teachings for daily spiritual life. For nearly 50 years, Jyotish and Devi have trained and worked side by side with Swami Kriyananda, building Ananda. Jyotish and Devi took Naya Swami's vows when Swami Kriyananda founded the new Swami order for married as well as single people of all faiths and paths who wish to commit their lives to God. Some years before his passing in 2013, Kriyananda named Namaswami Jyotish as Dharmacharya, his spiritual successor. Welcome to the show, the both of you.
Thank you, Joe. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Good morning.
So what was it that prompted you to follow this particular path?
Well, I'll start. I had graduated from college and wanting to have a meaningful life, but I didn't find it in college. I didn't know what direction it was. I was looking for, I studied psychology. I was looking for the expanse of human consciousness. Right after college in Minnesota, I came out to San Francisco in 1966, and it was then that I read that great book, Autobiography of a Yogi. And it answered all kinds of questions for me. It really changed my life, I have to say that. And right after that, I met Swami Kriyananda, who had been a direct disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda, lived with him for the last 3.5 years of his life, and was a very close disciple during that period of time. And so I began studying with Swami Kriyananda, and then he started, and I became his assistant in starting one of the first spiritual cooperative communities, Ananda.
And I'll jump in here as well, Joe. It's an interesting question, and I've answered it more times than I want to count. But the more I answer it, the less I'm certain of my answer. I think every one of us has a destiny, honestly, and we can make up reasons why this happened or that happened. But I think there's just a story that each of our lives have, and it unfolds for us. And, I had a pretty typical life, schooling, family, college, but there was always a missing component. And when it was as though the camera wasn't in focus. And then when I read autobiography and met Swami Kriyananda, came to the Ananda, just beginning Ananda community in 1969, the camera lens came into focus. And I just thought, okay, this is the story now that I'm living. That's my life is supposed to be. And
we're going to cut to a break right now, and we'll be right back in just a few minutes where we're going to continue with Jyotish and Devi. You're listening to the World Beyond Radio Show, and I'm your host, Joe Weigant. Stay tuned.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Hello, I'm Pete Marsh. With my daughter Justina, we will be presenting the new radio show, Too Good to Be True. If something seems too good to be true, it usually is. But with the help of Justina's amazing gifts, we're going to gain insight into questions that don't yet have complete answers. Have you wondered who built Stonehenge and for what reason? Why are crop circles found in the same region as Stonehenge and elsewhere? Are crop circles a hoax, or are they created with technologies that we have little knowledge of? Who built the pyramids in Egypt and also in other countries? How and why were they built? Was the Titanic switched with the Britannic as part of a gigantic insurance fraud, or for more insidious reasons? What caused the Tunguska event when trees were flattened over an 800 square mile area in Siberia? Will the new insights be too good to be true? Well, that will depend on what you are prepared to believe. Please join us as we start on this journey together. For more information on Too Good to Be True, visit www.xzbn.net.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
Welcome back to the World Beyond Radio Show. I'm your host, Joe Weigant, and this hour we are speaking with Jyotish and Devi from the Ananda organization. So our first question is, what is Ananda?
Well, Ananda is an organization, worldwide organization, that was founded really in order to become a place to live the teachings of meditation and really many teachings that came from the East to America, especially as taught by Paramahansa Yogananda. And so we study those teachings, we meditate every day, we try to live good, uplifting moral lives. And there are many, many teachings that he had about how to work with energy, how to work with your consciousness, how to work with health, how to work with especially spiritual life, where there's a deep seeking inwardly for self-realization, as he called it. And so we study those teachings, but much more importantly, we live those teachings. So we founded a community. It now has over 700 acres, about 250 residents. This is the first of 9 because we founded subsequent ones around the world. But the initial community is in Northern California, right across from the Tahoe, Lake Tahoe National Forest. And it's been a 50-year experiment in what happens to your life if you live according to your principles.
Yeah, I think what makes Ananda unusual, or from other spiritual groups, I would say, is that whereas we have the teachings of meditation and yoga, but we're trying to show, to demonstrate, to give people the opportunity to live. What does it look like in your daily life? What does it look like to raise your children and still have a meditative life? What does it look like to have health crises and still have a meditative practice in your life? What does it look like to run a business, to run a school, so forth? So it's really applied spirituality. And it's, as Jyotish said, we now have communities all over the world. We have wonderful international community outside of Assisi, Italy, where people, I believe the last count was from 10 different countries, are living there full time. And it's so beautiful, particularly in the light of the divisiveness that exists in our world today, that there are community members there from in Europe who, a generation ago were enemies in World War II. And now there's Italians and Germans and French and Russians and British people all living in a united community. So part of Ananda's work is to really show the potential of a united world.
Give me an example of some of the teachings that you're talking about in at least one or two different areas of life, and how does one adopt those into their life in a way that they can live them and make a change?
Okay. First of all, we begin every day with meditation, and we highly, highly recommend that to everyone. Now, the last figure, when we started, not very many people meditated. The last figure I saw was that over 28 million Americans have a regular meditative practice. So it's no longer any kind of a mysterious element as it was when we started 50 years ago. But we start the day with meditation. We can come back to deeper aspects of that, but I want to come on to the living example. So that gets a person calm and centered. And then as you exit meditation, if you can carry that sense of calmness and centeredness within you as you go throughout your day, one of the things that calmness does is it allows you to choose what your reaction is going to be. Now, that may sound rather simple, but it's a total game changer for how you live your life, because all of us come up. I mean, you no sooner leave your home, maybe it's in your home. If you turn on radio or TV and listen to news, you're already in a reactive state, generally a negative reactive state, and you're constantly exchanging that interaction with the world around you, and your thoughts actually have a great deal of power. And so if you can be calm at the beginning, control your reactions, stay calm and friendly, and open to people, open your heart to people that you connect with, then that changes your interaction, and that changes throughout the day. Now, as I say, it may sound kind of simple, but we have seen a community with hundreds of people living these principles. There's never been a fight. People, and we're talking about strong-minded people here, never been a fight. There are, of course, differences of opinion. No violence, no drugs, no use of mind-changing chemicals, none of that. For 50 years in a society that is in the midst of our typical American society.
I think another aspect of it, Joe, is the ability to relate sensitively and openly with everybody, no matter if they think the same way you do or worship the same way you do. I think one of the best testimonials of this is many families live here, and Jyotish and I have a grown son and grandchildren our son was born and grew up here. And when he went to school up until high school, and then he went to a public high school in the area. And people say, well, how do your kids do when they go out into the real world? And it's amazing. Invariably, the feedback we get is the kids from Ananda have the ability to relate to everybody, young, old, popular, not popular, whatever it might be, that they just have an ability to relate to other people from their own center. And I think that's one of the great benefits of meditation, to accept people for who they are, to project kindness and love to all, and to be able to be a source of strength to people who come into your life.
As far as Yogananda's teachings, though, are they enumerated like the Lao Tzu, where he basically one precept after another after another? How are the teachings disseminated?
Yeah, good question. We have, first of all, for anybody who has not read Autobiography of a Yogi, that is one of the great great spiritual classics of modern literature. In fact, Steve Jobs, that was the only book that he had on his iPad. He read it every year, and at his funeral, he had copies given away to everyone who attended. And so that book gives a lot of the basic principles. Then the techniques and teachings, they're available through Ananda. You can, the listeners can go to ananda.org, ANAND.org.
ANANDA.
ANANDA.org. And we have there available lots and lots of free teachings. We have online courses, or they can get my book, How to Meditate. And so that gives very clear instruction in meditation. Then Devi and I write a weekly blog in which we take a single subject. It might be how to control your reactions. It might be how to focus your mind. It might be how to open your heart. We have a weekly blog that take these teachings and give not only examples and inspiration, but often a little hint on how to work with your own practice.
We also have meditation groups and centers throughout America and India and Europe as well, and Russia, and it's worldwide. And if you want to find out about a group in your area, on our website, ananda.org, there's a link you can go to, Find Ananda Near You. And there you can get personal instruction and meet with people that are practicing these. But we did an estimate that we've probably taught over 400,000 people how to meditate in the nearly 50 years that Ananda's been going. So it's reached a lot of people. We've reached a lot of people, not just Jyotish and I personally, but we have wonderful teachers all over the world. And so it's this information is readily accessible. And also Autobiography of a Yogi is available to read online on our website.
I know a number of yoga instructors, and so many people who practice yoga read the Autobiography of a Yogi. But there are so many different styles and types of yoga, the Ashtanga and Raja Yoga and Kriya Yoga. What is the difference between Kriya Yoga, which you're promoting, and, say, Ashtanga or Hatha Yoga?
Okay, Hatha Yoga is the practice of the physical body using certain postures. Now, in America, to a certain extent, it has become more physically based, but originally that Hatha Yoga science was meant in order to help you move energy in the body, and especially to bring it to the higher centers in the forepart of the brain, but to move your energy and get your body so that the consciousness can become uplifted. Ashtanga Yoga is part of what we also teach, and it's how to it gives you a roadmap in how to interiorize and uplift your mind. And Kriya Yoga is a specific technique of meditation, the most advanced technique that Yogananda taught, which uses the breath and the mind in order to control and move the energy in the deep spine, which brings uplifted states of consciousness.
But basically, yoga really is a science. And there are different, just as science has many, many different branches, yoga has different expressions and branches, but they're all basically dealing with raising consciousness in one way or another, through using the breath, through moving the body, through doing different mantras, through different meditation techniques. And so Kriya Yoga, as we've said, is a particular technique of meditation that Yogananda brought to the West. He came in 1920 and spent the next 32 years here. And that's the highest technique he brought. But Kriya Yoga is a very, very effective technique of meditation that helps you very quickly to feel an upliftment of consciousness.
Well, we're going to cut away to a break here for just a moment, and then when we come back, I want to talk about Yogananda and Kriyananda and their particular messages that they had to bring to the world. Folks, you're listening to the World Beyond Radio Show. Our guest today is Jyotish and Devi from the Ananda organization. Stay tuned. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, and I want to tell you about a great provision for those interested in spiritual evolution and personal empowerment. Find Your Path Home Shamanic Art Center is your resource for reliable, leading-edge information, education, and healing, offering our brand new online galactic shamanism classes, long-distance shamanic healing performed by Path Home Shamanic Art School certified shamanic practitioners, and the Science of Magic's topic-driven radio episode collections, where I interview today's leading experts on science and magic. All of this designed to inform, support, and empower you through these changing times. Visit us in all we have to offer at findyourpathhome.com. That's findyourpathhome.com.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
How would you like to be able to read other people's minds? Well, the next best thing is here. When you know how to read a person's name, you know how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Each letter in our name holds a key to unlock our true essence. Our name contains both our gifts and challenges in this lifetime. Nemology science discovers personality secrets hidden in the placement of the letters of our names, including the first and last impression people remember about us. Sharon shows us how to interpret the arrangement of letters as outlined in her book, Know the Name, Know the Person. Sharon Lynn Wyeth created Nemology science after 18 years of research and testing her theories, and has supported thousands of people around the world in understanding themselves and others better. You'll enjoy Sharon's unique teachings as she shares her system to learn the gifts behind your given birth name. Even if you don't like your birth name, there are jewels in this book. If you're thinking of changing your name, ready to name your child, or wanting to get along better with others, this is the book for you. If you'd like to improve your relationships and change your life for the better, get the book today, Know the Name, Know the Person, or visit www.knowthename.com. That's www.knowthename.com.
Hello, I'm Justina Marsh, and with my dad Pete, we are going to present a new show called Too Good to Be True. Together, we are aiming to discover more truths about this world and beyond. Do you have unanswered questions about the world? Do you ever wonder about aliens, conspiracy theories, or the universe? There are many shows discussing subjects such as pyramids or UFOs, but we want to relay this information based on our own research, including from spiritual means. Hopefully, listeners will be helped with their own beliefs and will appreciate the psychic insights that add to the previous research and information. We both look forward to sharing this insight and beginning this journey with our listeners. Visit xzbn.net for more information about when to listen.
Welcome back to the World Beyond Radio Show. I'm your host, Joe Weigant, and we're getting back to Jyotish and Devi of the Ananda organization, and we're talking about meditation and consciousness. I read somewhere, and I may be wrong about this, but I thought I read somewhere that Yogananda originally came to America in order to have a discussion with Houdini. Is that correct?
Well, no, he was I think he did have a discussion with Houdini, but that wasn't his purpose for coming here. He was invited in 1920 by a Congress of religious liberals to come and give a presentation on yoga. And so he took the first boat to America from India after World War I. And he arrived in Boston in 1920. And within 3 or 4 years, he began lecturing. And by the mid-1920s, he was the most popular lecturer in the whole country, filling the largest halls. Carnegie Hall, he would not only fill that hall, but have people for blocks waiting to try to get in. And we're not talking about a single lecture. We're talking about lectures and classes that he would give in various cities for maybe a month at a time. So he became very well known, very, very popular. And he was putting out a kind of message to America that we can work with energy, we can work with consciousness, we can work with certain attitudes that can change our lives. And it was extremely well accepted. So during that time, he met many, many famous people, and I'm sure Houdini would have been one of them. He met presidents, he met opera singers, he met, anyway, a huge list of very popular figures in the country. But his main thing was to awaken in America the understanding of many things, but one that Eastern teachings and Western teachings are fundamentally the same. He said he came to unite East and West. He came to unite because he came from a Hindu background. The original teachings of Krishna and the original teachings of Christ, to show the similarity of those. And he gave hundreds of lectures, many of which are available in print form, that would take a particular subject, how to work with your energy. He even gave classes in how to attract your ideal partner, how to be healthy, how to be strong-minded and successful. Many, many lectures.
But he drew, as we've said, thousands and thousands. He traveled back and forth across the country. He called them his spiritual campaigns. He was really a very dynamic figure, a spiritual warrior, one might say, and a man of tremendous courage. In the 1920s, when there were and during the Depression in the 1930s, when the country was in such a bad financial situation, he spoke up very strongly against the rich people who are taking advantage of the poor people. And in fact, once there was even a gunman sent to shoot him, and just using the power of his love, he changed that man. The man came up behind him in Central Park with a gun, and Yogananda just turned around and said, "Why do you live the way you live? You aren't happy." And the man said, "What are you doing to me? I can't live this way." And he dropped the gun and ran away. But he was a spiritual teacher, but a man of courage and dynamism, and made a tremendous impression on everyone he met. And one of the people he met was the man who became our lifelong teacher, Swami Kriyananda. He was a Westerner, but born in Europe. His parents were stationed there as part of their work. And Kriyananda became his disciple in 1948 and spent the last 3.5 years with him of his life before Yogananda passed in 1952. And Kriyananda was tremendously formative in our life. We both met him when we were in our early 20s. And he also was a man of tremendous energy, tremendous creativity. Swami Kriyananda wrote over 150 books in his lifetime, and they weren't little pamphlets. And these are all available. We have a if you go to ananda.org, we have a publishing house called Crystal Clarity, and you can look at the tremendous array of books that Swami Kriyananda wrote. But Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda's life touched really millions of people. And in our contemporary times, we mentioned Steve Jobs, but also people like George Harrison, and the album Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. It's having its 50th anniversary of release now. And if you remember the cover, it's got all these different people on it. Well, Yogananda is part of the group and also his guru as well. So Yogananda has had a tremendous impact on contemporary society.
Having come from India and having basically come from a Hindu background, whenever Yogananda speaks about God, what is his concept of God? Is it different from the God of the Middle East and the Bible? Is it different from Buddhism? Or how does he approach that, especially when he comes to Westerners?
Well, I would say the concept of God is a consciousness, not a person. So, get rid of the image that you have in your mind with the Sistine Chapel of God reaching out and touching Adam. So that's a personification, but God is a consciousness. And from the Vedic viewpoint, God doesn't create the world as something exterior to him. He becomes the world. And in fact, Yogananda said spiritually, the reason that we dream at night is a spiritual analogy of how God creates the world. So God is a great infinite consciousness that becomes the world. And so we're extensions of that and of that consciousness. And meditation is meant to calm the mind, focus the mind, uplift and expand the mind sufficiently so that we have the actual experience in Eastern thought. The word is called samadhi, the state of consciousness where we realize our unity with everything that is.
Also, a definition that Yogananda brought from the East of God, the Sanskrit word is Satchidananda, but what it means is ever existent. So God is always, that consciousness of God is always there, ever existent, ever conscious, ever aware, and ever new joy. So always existing, always aware, and that awareness is defined by a state of joy, inner joy. And so that isn't something outside of ourselves. It's what we are. And so the practice of meditation, the concept of God that Yogananda brought, was to awaken within us our own innate divinity. And he said the God underlying all religions, we can call it different names, but it's that same existing, aware consciousness of joy that every human being is striving to find.
When Yogananda came to America, the Theosophical Society had basically come into its own and had invited Krishnamurti to America, and at one time thought that Krishnamurti was God. Was he a contemporary of these folks in the Theosophical Society, or did he interact with Krishnamurti in any way?
He was actually predating Krishnamurti. Now, he may have interacted. I'm not sure. I've never heard that he did, but Yogananda passed away in 1952. I'm not sure when Krishnamurti came. I think it was a little later than that. Krishnamurti was centered in Ojai, California, which is very near Los Angeles, where Yogananda was living. So I would be, if they were contemporaneous, I'd be very surprised if they didn't meet, because their basic teachings were from the same well, one might say, but they were dipping with different cups and giving different aspects to the basic one teaching.
But Yogananda was never, and we don't think of him that he was God. In fact, one time there was a delightful conversation where someone said, well, one of Yogananda's disciples said, well, you are God. And he said, no, why say I am God? Just say God is. We are all God. And the master Yogananda said, the disciple said, it's only your humility that says this, and that you aren't God. And Yogananda said, he who says he's God isn't, and he who says he's God isn't, and he who says he isn't too. So he just was trying to deflect a personal worship and just have people to say, this is within all of us. And he would often quote Christ in the Bible, who said, why everything I can do, you too can do. If you had but the faith of a grain of mustard seed, you could move mountains. And so the great teachers all take the adoration, the adulation away from themselves and say, we are all this.
A good example might be that if you have an ocean and you dip a bucket of that ocean water, that water in the bucket is the same in the ocean, no matter how many buckets you have, and it's that same water. So it's the same one God in everyone. The difference between a great master and a typical person is that the master is conscious of the fact that his reality is that of the ocean, where the rest are conscious only of the fact that they're a bucket full of water.
So was he trying to tell us that tell us more about the universe, or tell us more about ourselves?
Both. He's trying to say that through the expansion of our consciousness, we can understand the universe. They said, Swami Kriyananda said that Yogananda could talk with people in all walks of life, doctors and scientists and artists, and talk with them on their level, because he could tune into the consciousness that they were on. But he was also trying to say, everything I do, you can do. And so he was trying to show us the greater reality. In fact, once someone said to Yogananda, if God is infinite, how could he possibly care about me? And Yogananda said, your concept of infinity is too limited. God is infinitely great and infinitely small, so he cares about each individual.
And he can do that all at the same time.
All at the same time.
And so can we.
All righty. Well, we're going to cut to another break here in just a moment. When we come back, I want to get into meditation and how we can begin that practice and what it can do for us once we get into a daily repetitive routine. You are listening to the World Beyond Radio Show. I'm your host, Joe Weigant, and we'll be right back in just a moment with our guests, Jyotish and Devi. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you curious? Do you want to learn more about how the world works and have fun at the same time? Study coincidences with me, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, on my Connecting with Coincidence radio show, here on the XZBN network. Listen to Jungians theorize, statisticians randomize, true believers evangelize, while I categorize. I dance to the rhythm of coincidences. People who experience me see more of them. Maybe something on the show matches a thought in your mind. Let us know. Expand your mind to the weirdness happening around you. Synchronicity spoken here, there, and everywhere. For more information, put Connecting with Coincidence in your search engine and find my website, my social media sites, and my blog.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today, www.soulbalancing.world. There's a legend shared by many indigenous cultures of a time when the nations were cast to the 4 corners of the world. Each nation was given a body of sacred knowledge that held a different portion of the truth to preserve. True reality could not be known until all the nations reunited, combining the information. If a single one was missing, the world could not be reborn and darkness would prevail. The Science of Magic Radio is dedicated to reuniting the sacred knowledge. With the understanding, none of us has all the answers, but together we can open new perceptions and possibilities. Through our combined vision, the world can be reborn into a place where darkness no longer prevails. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic daily on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net, or visit us at thescienceofmagic.net.
Welcome back to the final segment of the World Beyond Radio show for this hour. I'm your host and guide, Joe Weigant. And as always, our show is produced and distributed by the ever-expanding leader in New Age, paranormal, alternative health, and supernatural programming, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, and Relmar McConnell Media Company, at their corporate headquarters and master control in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. To learn more about the World Beyond Radio show, your host, or to discover a wealth of other amazing shows and their hosts, please visit www.xzbn.net. To contact me to inquire about being a guest on the World Beyond, please email me at Joe Weigant. That's Joe, Weigant, at xzbn.net. For more information, you can also visit my websites, www.paranormalpeace.com and www.reikichoice, that's REIKI, choice.com. Jyotish and Devi, how can our listeners get a hold of you or your organization?
The best, there's a kind of universal portal because we have many aspects to it, but just go on the internet to ananda.org, ANANDA.org.
Before we start talking about meditation, Yogananda basically passed the torch, so to say, to Kriyananda. Is it typical only to anoint one successor, or did he have so many followers, but he just chose one? How does one become a Swami, and how does one get chosen for that process? Are there others like Kriyananda who are out there also teaching and doing things?
Yeah.
Yes, there are a number of people who disseminate yoga, were direct disciples of Yogananda, although there aren't many left anymore. That generation there are a few left only. Swami Kriyananda passed away in 2013. But no, generally the tradition is that there may be one appointed successor, but it isn't hierarchical like the Catholic Church or something like that. It's really people who have assimilated the teachings of their guru and feel inspired to share. So there are many people who teach Yogananda's teachings, and Kriyananda was by no means unique in that, but he was, I have to say, one of the most dynamic people in spreading them globally.
So let's talk about meditation. You know, in the West, even still today, people, you can see it on TV and you can see it in movies. And, you know, it's kind of almost a running joke that you have to be in some kind of a, you know, weird lotus position, and you have to do all kinds of weird things in order to do it. How does one, you know, get from never having done this before to beginning meditation?
Okay, I'll give you a 1-minute lesson in it. So you sit comfortably in a chair, whatever chair that works for you. It's helpful to have your spine upright because there are subtle energies in the body, and meditation helps awaken those subtle energies. If we lay down, the tendency is to go into a subconscious sleepy state. So sit upright in any comfortable position, relax your body, and get as relaxed as you possibly can while still being awake and aware. Then bring your consciousness and your gaze to the point between the eyebrows. In mystical literature, that's called the spiritual eye, or the third eye. So you bring your gaze in that point, and then simply start watching your breath. So as you inhale, feel that breath coming in. As you exhale, feel that breath going out. And as you do that, it helps to focus and interiorize your consciousness. And everybody is going to find that their mind wanders from doing that. As soon as your mind wanders, bring it back to watching the breath. Yogananda also taught what is called a bija mantra, or a word formula with that helps interiorize the energy. So as the inhalation comes in, you can mentally say Hong. As the exhalation goes out, mentally say Saw. If you do that for 5 or 10 minutes, you will find that your consciousness begins to very much calm down, very much become more focused. And that's the fundamental platform on which most other meditation techniques are built. So if you just do that platform, and I've described it in a minute here, just do that for 5 or 10 minutes a day. Within 2 weeks, scientists have seen this with brain imaging now. Within 2 weeks, your brain patterns and your brain structure will begin to change, and this will improve your life.
And you know, we're very passionate about sharing meditation with others. And if people go to that portal website, Ananda, ANANDA.org, there's lots of free information about how to get started. But mainly the point I would like to share now is you don't need to go outside of your comfort zone. You don't have to get into, pretzel shapes. You don't have to change your clothes or your lifestyle. Meditation is a practice that everyone can do, whatever your religion, whatever, you don't need to go to an ashram or set aside hours every day. 5 minutes sitting quietly in your home can make a huge change. And we have a friend who in San Francisco who was the head of the instructors for rookie policemen in San Francisco. He was a follower of Yogananda, and he taught all of his new rookies just basic breathing techniques. He said, if you're in a tense situation, he taught them basic meditation that you can do while you're in a crisis and to deal more calmly with it. So really, meditation is something everybody can practice to enhance their life. It doesn't mean change. It means just being able to deal with life with calmness, clarity, effectiveness, and to find a wellspring of strength to deal with whatever's going on in the world around you.
What should one consciously think about during meditation?
Well, we're really trying to get beyond thinking, if possible. So this technique that I was mentioning of watching the breath, you shouldn't be trying to think about things. Let go of that, especially let go of projects and plans and worries and all of the things that disturb the mind, and just watch the breath. As you do that, it brings the mind into a state of focus. Then if you want to move on from there, then there are certain interior qualities that all of us have. For instance, we have love. And so focus on the sense of love that already resides within you. But one might say the meta love, don't say, oh, I love this person, I love that person, therefore I love. Rather that I have within me the capacity to love, and feel that love and then expand it, or feel joy and expand it.
And when you said, what do you think about? Thinking is a part of is an aspect of one might say, the conscious mind. According to the teachings of yoga, there are 3 aspects to our mind: the subconscious, which is the repository of past experiences and impressions; the conscious mind, which is the thinking, rational mind. But then there's a 3rd level, and Carl Jung even talked about this, the great pioneer in psychology, of the superconscious mind. And this is the aspect, the intuitive aspect of our consciousness. And this is what we're trying to tap into with meditation. So the more you practice it, the more you access that superconscious mind, which is activates the certain part of the brain, the prefrontal lobes. And this superconscious mind really helps us it gives us that ability to deal with life from the highest possible level.
If during meditation it's important to not think about something, but when these experiences happen to us and we recognize them, is that not the thought of them?
Well, one might, since Yogananda used the analogy of a dream, one might use that analogy. While you're in the dream, you're completely absorbed in that dream. So when you're in meditation, try to be completely absorbed in that meditation. When you wake up, then you remember that dream. So when you come out of meditation, of course you remember what you were meditating about. But if your mind is active and especially worried or regretful, or that you're trying to get out of the past and out of the future and be in the here and now during the process of meditation.
Jet Li was a famous martial artist, and he retired from making movies to practice. He became a Zen Buddhist monk. And one of his interviews, he said, I meditate 24 hours a day. Even during this interview, I'm meditating right now. Can that be achieved?
Of course it can. What he's talking about is my consciousness is always focused on my higher centers, whether I'm cooking or interviewing or meditating or raising children. It's the practice of meditation enables you to draw the subtle energy up, access the superconscious mind, and then live from that state all the time.
There's
I have really enjoyed having you guys on the show today. It has been a pleasure. Folks, you have been with us at the World Beyond Radio show, and we've had our guests Jyotish and Devi and talking about consciousness and meditation. We appreciate you tuning in. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching.